a voice that captures human minds. A private discourse. To become a leader of men is to become a leader of their minds. For the men that will ultimately follow you are those that first follow their own master. Make their master a follower, and the man will come of his own accord. That master is the mind. In order to teach otherworldly things, the sincerity of a student must be equally otherworldly. The desire to abandon must be as great as the desire to know. It will never be a coincidence that those who have arrived at the grand stage of their professions are the most appropriate individuals for this journey, for such things come to those who have uncommon DNA. And it is only those with the uncommonest of DNA who have even a loose prayer of imbibing the wholly antithetical and almost unbelievable ideas that are at the center of the truth. A man who truly believes that the sun rotates around the earth, and who has not the DNA or the courage to seriously entertain the possibility that almost all that he has learned about life and the mind is criminally incorrect, is not a candidate for the truth. No matter how sincere this letter may be, or how much he is willing to pay for it. For sooner or later, all humans default to their defaults. And this, coupled with my unwillingness to convince, is far from an alignment of sensibilities. World class is world class for a reason. If you seek to be heard, or listened to, or to influence, whether it is your employees, your spouse, your followers, your fans, or your very own children, you must cultivate a voice that resonates. In what way do such things happen? The vocal cords are forced open by air rising from the lungs. The lungs are filled with air that we breathe from the outside. But the air is saturated by a life force, prana. Pranayama is not the act of modulating breathing, as is widely believed. It is the act of modulating prana. I will share with you a Siddha secret. The amount of prana that one inhales is inversely proportional to the amount of involuntary thought that is occurring as he inhales. The lesser one's capacity for curbing involuntary thought, the less prana he imbibes from the air. The greater one's capacity for curbing involuntary thought, the more prana he imbibes from the air. And lest I forget to drop this bomb upon you, mindfulness actually increases involuntary thought. It is among the greatest myths propagated in this prescription-oriented society in which we live. We can thus deduce that the man who thinks only when he desires to think will intake more prana, and thus he will have a far greater constitution. This actually causes the vocal cords to resonate at a different frequency. This difference in frequency has a particular effect upon the mind which hears it. It must be understood that we are not the in-control humans that we believe ourselves to be. We are products of our varying physiologies and slaves to our minds, until we learn to conquer this mind. Next, it is the content of our speech that has an effect upon human beings. it must first be understood that this content cannot be instructed or prescribed. If a psychologist, teacher, or guru tells you what to say, it will do very little. Cosmetics is the order of the day in this society, and cosmetics have zero power to sway the human mind. If you speak the words that you are told to speak, the mind that hears these words will see right through them. It will detect their lack of resonance and character. Understand this. A man who speaks words that are a byproduct of having truly arrived somewhere within himself carries a resonance and a power that overpowers all minds. Humans listen and follow that which their mind verifies as truth. Humans that learn and cultivate these truths do not lead people astray, for it is not in their constitution to do so. The beautiful irony in it all is that humans actually yearn to be led, not toward the things that they desire, but towards a place that will satiate them so completely that they become free from the imprisonment of desires. Namaste. An unimaginable truth. A private discourse. There are some truths that would never come to a human through logic or intelligence, for they are beyond the domain of logic and intelligence. And it would be fair to say that some of these truths are intuited during the course of one's life, but they are so contrary and unimaginable that man spends his entire life trying to make them untrue. And then there are truths that almost no human alive would dare to entertain, for they are found in the sorts of desert purgatories in which no sane man would ever think to look. A human lives his life according to the way he believes things should be. Society takes these beliefs and recycles them into banners and loudspeakers placed at strategic locales around the world. To live a life based upon a premise that is untrue cannot lead to anything but anxiety and suffering. And to live a life forcing oneself to follow a truth also leads to anxiety and suffering. It is for this reason that arriving at freedom can only happen by way of understanding. It can only happen by way of seeing. Prescriptions, instructions, and how-tos are shimmering mirages that lead one chasing and thirsting for the whole of his life. Man's greatest pains come in the form of relationship, for he operates under the belief that if he gives, he will get. Firstly, he is more drawn to getting than giving. Secondly, he doesn't really get at all. A man will say that he gets indeed. He receives the love and affection from this person and that. But that which he calls love leaves him hungry for more. If something is truth, it transforms the human to which it arrives. If it leaves him thirsty for more, it is not truth. If one's entire diet consists of carbohydrates and simple sugars, he remains in a constant state of hunger. If his diet consists of vegetables, fat, and fiber, he does not get hungry. That which leaves man hungry for another dose is a sugar high, no matter what name one refers to it by. This leads to one of two conclusions: that love is nothing more than empty pleasure, or two, that love is truth, but man does not know the true meaning of the word. The same can be said of God, but one thing is for certain: man uses both love and God as a wishing well. This is neither right or wrong, but the only reason for its practical importance is that it leads to a life of anxiety and suffering. If receiving love and affection from a human being today leads to a hunger for more love and affection tomorrow, that which one calls love and affection is a simple sugar. That which is a simple sugar is a lie, due to the very fact that it does not have the ability to satiate. This implies a truth that is at once unimaginable to a human being. And the truth is this: no human being on earth can, on an emotional level, give anyone anything. If love received today does not last for a lifetime, the thing one calls love is a lie. I will return to one of the seminal truths of life, stated in colloquial language. Everything is a scam. Everything, in the end, turns out to be untrue, no matter how lofty, spiritual, kind, beautiful, harmonious, and logical it may sound. It will, as sure as wetness follows rain, turn out to be a scam. If one sees the truth behind the truth, he sees why it cannot be any other way. You see, man functions from a place of self. The self is his center. The self is the hub around which the wheel of his life turns. And this self is a lie. Thus, all that arises from it is sheathed in untruth. I once stated that few will understand just how deep and wide the statement, "everything is a scam," extends. Every human on the planet who rose to applaud this statement will perhaps return to his seat in silence when he learns that he himself is a scam. In fact, the self is the mother of all scams, for it has given birth to all the scams in a human being's life. When a man arrives at the genuine understanding that nobody in his life can give him anything at all, he begins to become transformed. He becomes free. And it is only a free man who can truly give anything to anyone, not because he should, and not because it is good or right or kind, for these are all scams in their own right. The free man is the only man who can truly give, because having been transformed by the truth, it is the only capacity he is left with. He is not good at all. There is simply nothing else he is fit to do. For his mysterious inner machinery has been transformed and rewired so profoundly, it is whom he has become. Having seen the unimaginable truth, he has found truth itself. Namaste. Freedom Song, a private discourse. One is enslaved by the idea of a self. So long as a self is held in clear view, so long as it is a pervasive idea in the mind, so long as one subscribes to the notion of it, freedom is not possible. For the whole of our lives, we are in a constant state of preoccupation, a constant state of worry, a constant state of fear, a constant state of anxiety, a constant state of uncertainty, a constant state of conflict. Never in our life is everything perfect. Never are our affairs in order. One arrives at a true milepost in his life when he realizes that this will be his or her existence until the day they die. Tomorrow will be no different. Just as every tomorrow of the past has not been different. What we experience as our lives today is the best it will ever get. Do not be disillusioned by the idea that fortunate events that come to you will change anything. Even after 1,000 fortunate events, we return to the way we are. Remember a great truth. Man forever defaults to his defaults. The self is the mother of all problems. It is the one complete source of all of a human being's anxieties. There is no spiritual path versus worldly path. There is only a human path. It is not as if the one who walks a spiritual path is a different human being, subject to different human conditions. Even the spiritual path is a worldly path. Both are paths of bondage. There is only the path of freedom. There is only the path of truth, the path to meet the source of all our pains, so that we may be free of them forever. The path to meet the creator of all our sufferings, so that we may never suffer again. These are the only paths. For whether a man is spiritual or worldly, he does not seek misery. Whether he is spiritual or worldly, he craves freedom. Naturally, the thought will arise in the mind, if the self is the source of all my bondage, what do I do about it? There is nothing to do. The world has conditioned you and brainwashed you with the idea of doings. All doings are an attempt to cleverly escape from seeing the problem. They are essentially a closing of one's eyes and hoping that when he opens them, his problems will have disappeared. You are free to try. When one sees the boiling lava that is the manufacturer of all his miseries, a fundamental transformation takes place within him. A quiet tectonic transformation. Instantly, the quality of his life begins to change. He finds himself moving in different ways. He feels himself growing a new skin, for he has seen the truth. He is no longer interested in the games of the world. He shines like a beacon across the mighty oceans. He stands at the dawn of a new existence. Life begins to surrender to him. His bondages fall away, and he roams the earth as only a free man can. Namaste. How the mind truly learns. A private discourse. I have decided to share a few insights with you regarding the truth about human learning. If you choose to imbibe it, do so. If you agree or disagree, you will not have truly heard. My ways are unorthodox, as any true way must be. For things must be done not according to tenets of instruction. They must be done according to the way in which the mind can be captured, engaged, and made to imbibe the training, and in so doing, willingly commit the whole of its powers to creating a masterpiece of the craft at hand. I will be using the word teacher in the purest sense. I do not mean school teacher, for I find schools to be beneath the glory of human beings. Let us begin. The teacher. Teaching begins with the teacher, not his methodologies, but his intent. What the teacher is hungry for, what he is inspired by, what he truly seeks. For this will inform his every action. Teaching. In order to teach a human a particular skill, the skill cannot be taught head-on. It must be taught obliquely. The skill cannot be brought to the student. The student must be enticed toward the skill. Why is this so? Because if the skill is brought to the student, the mind becomes complacent. The moment a skill or a teaching is brought to the student, the mind will lean back in its chair and expect another teaching. And in doing so, it will imbibe very little. A few years back, a sports psychologist asked me to help him with his teaching. He was aghast at the fact that one of his PGA Tour players said to him, "What do you have for me today?" This is an example of a mind that has become complacent. Teaching is like a string that links teacher and student. This string must always remain taut. For the moment the string becomes lax, even if the teaching continues, the learning will come to a halt. Understand this truth. The mind of the student can never be allowed to become complacent. The teacher's mind. The teacher who needs his student to succeed will fail. For this need will undermine the purity of his teaching. So the performance truths about teaching. The teacher must sneak up on the mind of the student, for if the mind sees him coming, it will erect a barrier. The teacher must observe the student's responses, verbal and otherwise, for these will reveal the true desires of the student, and they will inform the path that the teacher must take. The single most ineffective method of having a human being do anything is to simply tell him to do it. Teaching is like a connect-the-dots puzzle, but the space between each dot is stretched 7 miles wide, so as to allow the student the space and the freedom to create his own unique and instinctive solution. What the master teacher craves most is not to have the student imbibe the teaching. What he craves most is to stand in awe before a solution that this particular human, as the only one of his kind in the entire world, was made to produce. A skill that can be memorized and performed by rote is a skill that will provide almost no benefit for a human being. A teacher who brings a lesson plan, a PowerPoint presentation, a lecture, or a briefcase has brought with him the building blocks of a prison. All true things arise spontaneously. They arise from a mysterious place that is beyond words. True learning is a relationship between the desperation in the student's heart and the teaching that sits before him. True teaching is not released fully formed. It is like a plutonium bomb that sits before the student, waiting to release the majesty of its secrets. But it can only be opened by a hand that is pure, a fingerprint that conveys a true sincerity and a maniacal desire. A true teacher must be passionate about dispassion. For any form of reliance, hope, or need that he holds within him will undermine his efforts. The teacher who instructs is not a teacher. The teacher who has a 5-step method will turn the student into a mule. Before one becomes a true teacher, he will have exiled himself into a monk-like existence in order to come face to face with the mercurial majesty of his mind. For in understanding his own mind, he will have understood the mind of all human beings. Namaste. I feel so alone. A private discourse. This private discourse is an excerpt from a consultation with a private client. It is a consultation between a woman and myself. This conversation occurred in the dark at this woman's home. The night was cool. We sat in front of a log-burning fireplace. I remember because she plucked a petal off of a rose and tossed it into the flames as we talked. I didn't ask her why. "You'll have to explain something to me," she said. "Yes," I said. "How did you come to be a hermit?" "I'm an only child," I said. "I've always been alone, among other reasons." "What other reasons?" she asked. "I do enjoy deep examinations such as this," I said, "with another person, but I don't have the stomach for traditional forms of association with people." She asked, "Do you find that you have to work at it, or does it come naturally?" "What are you really trying to ask?" I said. She said, "I want to learn this. I have no choice." I said, "I don't know that it's a skill to be learned." Woman, "But there has to be a bridge toward it." Myself, "What's on the other side of this bridge?" Woman, "Where I am now." Myself, "Where is that?" Woman, "I'm caught between this place of feeling alone and needing to learn how to be alone." Myself, "Why?" Woman, "How do I answer that question? It's been so many years. I'm this person who's supposed to have everything, the perfect life, the perfect family. But the truth is, I don't have anything." Myself, "I understand." Woman, "You do?" Myself, "Yes. But please keep speaking." Woman, 20 years ago, it felt very different. I had all this hope. My family was developing. The children were young. It seemed like I was moving toward a place of wholeness, as if we were building this life together, as if the family would grow more solid over time, like a sculpture that slowly takes shape. But all these years later, it feels like the opposite. It feels like the sculpture was what I began with, and now it's disintegrated over time. Myself, "Yes." Woman, "You don't sound surprised." Myself, "No." Woman, "Why does all this happen?" Myself, "What part of it do you feel most deeply?" Woman, "Loneliness. I feel so alone." Myself, "What makes you feel like this?" Woman, "I have a great husband. I have great kids. I have great fans and great success. But I have to be honest with you. I feel completely alone, and I have for some time." Myself, "I'm listening." Woman, "Nothing turned out the way I thought it would. I feel so ashamed for saying this. No mother should say such things, but you always ask for the truth. So here's the truth. I feel like I gave my life to my children. But they sort of don't care. They went their own way. A friend of mine said to me, this is natural, and that kids leave the nest. But she doesn't quite understand. This is not about them leaving the nest. I haven't felt like a mother in years. I have a house full of people, but I feel totally alone. Myself. Where would you like me to begin? Woman. Meaning? Myself. I can come at this from many angles, but I want to come at it from the one that will benefit you most. Woman. The truth. Myself. Straight truth? Woman. Absolutely. If the bottom is going to fall out, I'd rather it fall out while I'm at my lowest point. Let's get straight to it. Myself. The truth is that we fall for romantic ideas, and these romantic ideas seem perfectly within the bounds of reason and logic. So much so that the thought that these ideas are misguided never crosses our mind. But they are, no matter what the books or the therapists say. Woman, please go on. Myself. We fall for the idea that we are going to make a family, that our children are going to grow up according to this and that we will inculcate them with proper thinking, and over time, things will become solid and pure. But the truth is that we don't know how our children are going to turn out. If we raise them with an iron fist, there are many problems. If we raise them with a soft hand, there are many problems. Some couples grow further apart than others, and some ostensibly grow closer together. And if they grow closer together, it is often the problems with their children that bring them closer together. Everything fades in this life. The truth lies in understanding from the very beginning that despite all our efforts, nature takes its course without consulting us. In this life, things do not move toward wholeness and completion. They move towards uncertainty. And the more we modify our behaviors in order to change this, the more we suffer. Woman. Well, that was about as straight as it gets. And this is why I was asking you how you learned to be alone. I want to be comfortable being alone so that I no longer have to feel lonely. Myself. The problem isn't getting comfortable being alone. Woman. Then where do I go from here? Myself. Create a space between what you hope to happen and what does. Woman. Between what I hope to happen and what actually happens? Is that right? Myself. Yes. But do not do it mechanically. If you do it mechanically, you'll be closing your eyes and pretending you're blind. Open your eyes and see what already has happened. You have decades of experiential evidence. You don't really guide the ship that you've always considered yourself in charge of. Understanding this will erode your feeling of loneliness. Woman. But won't it make me see just how lonely I am and how helpless I am? Myself. Yes. Woman. Then why is this the way to go? Myself. Because arriving at something organically has an entirely different feeling than being blindsided by it. Your loneliness is not the result of you being alone. It is the result of you feeling that you as a human being were not alone and would never be. But when you realize that nature doesn't care about you or me, you begin to stop asking anything from it, and you begin to stand on your own 2 feet, alone, but without loneliness. Woman, I have to admit, I'm afraid. Can you help me through this? Myself. Yes. Namaste. On creating masterpieces that are revered around the world. A private discourse. In order to create a masterful work of art, one must become an island unto himself. It is for this reason that masterful works of art are so rare, because the DNA of the human from which they arise is so rare. The masterful creator understands too well that he is all alone. For there is not a single human on this earth that will condone his way of doing things, or bless his way of looking at things. They will tell him that this is wrong, that is wrong, this is the way it is done. Doing it that way will cause this and that. I must say that this fundamental realization that he is completely and utterly alone in this world helps him to become serious. This realization helps him to stop wasting time. You see, virtually everyone in this world is stupid, except you. Every art teacher is a blithering idiot. If he knew anything about art, why is he not a Van Gogh himself? Art school is a contradiction in terms. Understand this, and understand it well. No one in this world knows anything. Every piece of advice that the world gives you will be a prescription. And every one of these prescriptions came from someone else. Man is a lazy, incompetent, spineless coward who regurgitates nonsensical information because he does not have the desire or the DNA to devote his life to exploring that which remains unexplored. Every school in existence is an insult to human beings. You are completely alone. There is no one that can help you in creating your art, because art cannot obey any convention. Why? When a nutmeg falls from a tree, it splits in two. It lays on the ground, exposing its crimson aril in a background of windswept leaves and a few grains of dark brown soil. This is art. Why is it art? Because it is natural. It is unadorned. It is wild. It is unrehearsed. It is unplanned. It is uncompromising. It is indifferent and stark. This is why it is art. Every lesson that an artist takes lessens the artist. It puts the artist in a box, trims his hair, and clips his wings. He is like a bird who is condemned to a life of competing in a running race. The ultimate artist is the ultimate revolutionary. He does not question himself. He does not take orders from anyone. A true artist is as much a witness to his art as are those who are drawn to it. The artist does, however, have an Achilles heel. His Achilles heel is that he wonders what others will think. He hopes that they will like his art. He seeks validation. He seeks praise and is terrified of criticism. And this becomes his downfall. What he must understand is that if his art is true, natural and wild, no human being on earth is fit to judge it. Therefore, anything that they say is a blind man groping in the darkness. The artist is his own judge and jury. And in abandoning even this, he becomes an artist beyond compare. An artist does not create art. The art creates him. In order to create masterpieces, an artist must be willing to go where no man has ever gone. And what he brings back from these unexplored continents is something that will lift the hearts of humans. But even if it does lift the hearts of humans, this is irrelevant, because he did not do it for them. He did it because he had no choice. An artist must understand that this world has only one effective talent: to bring human beings down to its level. I will state with the utmost certainty that the masterful artist must hate the world. He must loathe society, for it stands for all that is against him and his art. Society, the world, instruction, institutions, schools, critics, and even fans are the enemy of the artist. And if he develops a taste for their good graces, he is doomed. Namaste. The Imprisonment of Superstars. A Private Discourse. This is an excerpt from a conversation with a superstar artist. Artist. I feel like a fraud sometimes, standing on that stage. It's amazing what people don't see. I've become very good at concealing myself. What do they not see? Artist. A star is only a star on stage. Myself. The stage is a place of freedom. Artist. I know you're right, but tell me why you say that. It's funny how I ask you in order to learn about myself. Myself. When you step on stage, your life disappears, and all its problems disappear along with it. An artist is most free when she lives within her art. The moment she leaves it, she feels the cold winds and the destitution of domestic life. Artist. Am I alone in feeling this way? Myself. Every performer, every athlete, and every artist feels at home on the grand stage, except when they bring the world with them onto that stage. Then their art is no longer art, and their life becomes just as destitute on the stage as it is off of it. Artist. What do you mean by bringing the world with them onto the stage? Myself. Some performers bring their anxieties onto the stage. Fear, nervousness, self-consciousness, need, hope, expectation. Artist. I can't deny bringing some of these things. Do you think I should bring joy and happiness onto the stage? Is that what you're getting at? Myself. It depends. Artist. On what? Myself. On why it is that you walk onto the stage. Artist. Open that up for me, please. Myself. The destination determines the avenue. Artist. The destination determines the avenue. I feel one of your famous rabbit holes coming on. Myself. There's always a rabbit hole, if one seeks the truth. Artist. So you're asking why I walk onto the stage? Myself. Yes. Artist. Straight truth? Myself. As always. Artist. I don't want to waste time telling you why I walk onto the stage. Myself. Explain. Artist. What I've learned during our times together is that when you ask me a question, the answer that I give ends up being irrelevant. You see, I've learned something about you. Myself. Tell me what you've learned. Artist. You don't ask questions in order to get the answer. You really couldn't care less about the answer. You ask me questions in order to prepare the stage for a coming truth. Myself. Very insightful. Artist. I want to know if I'm right. Myself. You are correct. Answers are largely irrelevant. Artist. I have to admit that I feel a sense of pride for having solved one of your unspoken secrets. Myself. Relish it. Artist. Yeah, so it doesn't matter what my answer is as to why I go on stage. Let's not waste time. Let's get straight to the truth. What is it that I should bring with me on stage? Myself. It depends upon what you seek. Artist. What would it be in my best interest to seek? Myself. Freedom. Artist. Freedom. Absolutely. Myself. You agree? Artist. With all my heart. Myself. Then you cannot sing the songs yourself. Artist. Then who will do the singing? Myself. Your pain. Artist. My pain? Myself. Your pain must sing. Your sorrows must be unleashed into the heavens. Your regrets must be on display. Your resentments, your hatred, your love, and all the things about your present and your past that even those who are closest to you have never understood. The part of you that not even your mother has fully seen. These are the things that must sing. Artist. Give me a second. How did you know there's a part of me that my mother has not seen? Myself. Parents do not see their children. Artist. You just opened up a deep, deep wound. I felt imprisoned as a child, and now I feel imprisoned as an adult. Myself. The thing that imprisons you is the thing that will free you. Artist. Which is? Myself. Your art. Your art is your path to freedom. Artist. That is so right on. And what about the imprisonment I feel when I'm not on stage? Myself. Do you not see? Artist. What am I not seeing? Myself. You're always on stage. Artist. I'm always on stage? Myself. From the moment you wake to the moment you sleep, and even in the pale blue light of your dreams. Artist. Speak more about this, please. The conversation continued into the night. Namaste. The Other World. A Private Discourse. Every man says, I will certainly do it one day, when I am ready. In uttering these words, he does not realize his fatal error. He believes that it is he who decides when he will be ready. He thinks that he is in control. If this were true, then he would have been ready eons ago. Rare is the man who becomes ready, for the mind does not allow him to do so. The mind is never ready. The mind has already reached its steady state. It is where it longs to be. Why would a king voluntarily surrender his throne? In order to camouflage itself, in order to allow the human to believe that he is in control, the mind will say to this human, "You really should take the plunge. You really must reach new heights. You really need to get over this chapter in your life. You cannot live this way any longer. You must become ready, and you must do it now." This is the mind's way of giving his fish some extra line, as it allows him to roam within invisible boundaries. He feels that his life is under his control. For if the mind jerked the hook in his mouth, the human would become desperate to free himself. But a line that is invisible and a hook that is imperceptible keeps the fish trapped forever, while feeling that he is not. This human walks between two worlds, as all humans do. The world in which he lives is saturated with anxieties. The world which he peers into contains freedom. The world in which he lives is teeming with turmoil. The world which he peers into contains peace. The world in which he lives is awash with confusion. The world which he peers into contains wisdom. Why does man allow himself to be enslaved by the mind? There are two reasons. Because he believes that he is in control of his mind instead of the reverse, and because he is under the all-encompassing illusion that he has time. In fact, if there was one single thing that stands between man and his freedom, it is the belief that he has time. A man who is on his deathbed is as ready as any human that has ever lived. The only difference between the human on his deathbed and all other humans is that he has come to the undeniable realization that the rumors were true, that every human being indeed ends up on a deathbed. The only difference between the human on his deathbed and all other humans is that his deathbed is located in the hospital, while all other deathbeds are located in homes. Can you show me a single human being in this world who is not terminal? If there is instant enlightenment, it is coming to this one realization within the deepest compartments of one's soul. Before the master became a master, he was found walking down a dirt path. A young man called out to him, and this was the conversation that took place. The future master is M. The future student is S. Student, where do you go, sir? Master, today is a new day for me, young man. Today I have seen what it has taken me far too long to see. Student, what have you seen? Master, that my entire life has been false. It has been one lie stacked upon another. Student, why do you say this? Master, you will not understand, my young friend, for yours is a stage of life in which all things seems bright. Student, please, sir, I wish to know. Master, my life has not been my own. It has belonged to the mind. The mind has leased small fragments of it to me. It is this that I have realized. Student, where will you go? Master, I do not know. But it is not necessary to go anywhere physically. Student, then what is it necessary to do? Master, this realization has only now washed over me. I can only speak from this place of fresh and raw experience. Today I have realized that everything is false. Simply false. This falseness is the truest thing I have ever learned. Student, sir, may I ask you a question? Master, if you wish. Student, is everything in my life false as well? Master, yes, but it will not serve you to listen to me. Student, why not? Master, because you must see it for yourself, and it is only once the power of having seen has invested within you that your internal way of being will change course, and it is only in this way that a strange and indescribable desperation will arise within you. Student, where will you go, sir? Master, I will go to the other world. Student, what is the other world? Master, it is the world which I have forever longed for, but never became quite ready to walk towards. Now I am ready. My stride proves this to me. Student, what does this other world contain? Master, all of the things that have forever been just beyond my reach. Student, will you take me with you? Master, not today, but I will await you there, where you and I will one day meet again. Student, how do you know, sir? Master, because the fire within you is great. Namaste. The Secret Location of Happiness. A Private Discourse. Do humans seek happiness? They really do not. Happiness is a name given to that place which has no pain. And if pain did not exist, happiness would not either. Pain and happiness are two sides of the same coin. Where there is one, the other will soon follow. Something fortuitous happens to a person. He becomes excited. He feels that the clouds have parted. He breathes a sigh of relief. But a short time later, misfortune strikes. This misfortune may be large or small, but it is something that is contrary to what the person hoped for. You will have noticed in your own life that one moment you are laughing, and 5 to 7 minutes later, you are angry. Some days you are sad, and other days you are elated. Everything that man does, he does out of a need to feel happy. He does not seek success. He seeks the happiness that comes from it. He does not seek to be loved. He seeks the good feeling that comes from it. Without the good feeling, none of these things would hold any sway for man. None whatsoever. Man wants to feel good. One's mind will almost certainly ask, what is wrong with wanting to feel good? Since there are no rules, there is nothing wrong with it. Then why do I speak of it? Because all things have a consequence. The man who seeks to feel good, the man who seeks happiness, will have no choice but to go on a chase. One's mind will then ask, what is wrong with going on a chase? Since there are no rules, there is nothing wrong with it. Then why do I speak of it? Because chases never end. If there is something definite that one chases, then it is findable, it can be had, and once had, it can be owned. But if something does not fundamentally exist, if it is an apparition, if it is an idea that is created as an alternative to something else, then the chase cannot end, and one must chase forever. The need to feel good is one of man's greatest imprisonments. One's mind will then ask, if I do not want to feel good, should I want to live in pain? An even more conditioned mind will be clever, and it will ask, so what you are saying is that pain is good for me, that it is only once I know pain that I can appreciate happiness. This is the danger with reading spiritual and self-help books. This is a mind that has been conditioned by the empty spirituality that is seeping like a poison into an already poisonous society. One should not live in pain. One need not know pain in order to know happiness, for pain and happiness are like ice and water. They are the very same things, existing in slightly different form. Like the ice that always eventually turns to water, happiness eventually turns to pain. It is for this reason that one is silly to read bumper sticker slogans, feel-good messages, and empty positive phrases that saturate the culture. When one sees a poster of a woman with arms outspread toward the heavens with a look of happiness on her face, the thing being sold is not the thing that is really true. The woman appears to be saying, I am so happy, when in fact, the truth is that she is really saying, without having realized it, is, I have gained a moment free from pain. The only thing that truly transforms a human is the truth, not the positive truth, or the negative truth, or the neutral truth. Simply the truth. If one genuinely seeks to know where happiness is truly found, he will find it in a place that he never thought to look. But more importantly, he will find it in a place where few will visit, even if they are given the location. I will give you the location today. You are free to do as you please. Here it is. If there is such a thing as happiness, it is found in abandoning the need to have it. Namaste. For those who seek to apply for the private discourses, they may do so at www.kapilguptamd.com.